I'm continuing my afternoon of answering people's questions, because I do get quite a few questions and they're always welcome because they're great ideas for little videos. And I've had one from Tim Young, who's I think in South Carolina. Hi Tim, thanks for the question. Basically Tim has come to the piano from learning how to play the guitar, and he's got some chord sequences that he likes and he wants to know how to turn them around. In other words, how to play through a particular progression and then build a basic link so you can start the progression again. Okay, and the two sequences he's interested, quite simple, straightforward sequences, are a B flat, E flat, F sequence and an A, D, E sequence. Okay, so B flat, E flat, F, A, D, E. Those are what we would call 1-4-5 sequences, both of them. Okay, if we look at the key of C for a second, the 1-4-5 in C would be C, F, G. Okay, we call them the 1-4-5 chords because it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In any major key, or in any minor key as well, those chords, 1, 4 and 5, are always the most important, yeah? So, really the answer is the same for both of those progressions. If you've got a B flat, E flat, F progression, or an an A, D, E progression, the theoretical answer is the same. I'll show you some ideas for turning around both though, because it does work slightly differently on the piano keyboard, because obviously in different keys your fingers naturally fall into different places. So first of all, let's think about a B flat, E flat, F sequence. Now the most common kind of 1-4-5 chord sequence is a 12-bar blues, which uses all those three chords. So we get to the end of the chord sequence. What do we do to get back to the start? We could just get, I mean, the simplest turnaround is no turnaround at all. You could just sit on the B flat and start again. But there are various other things you can do. If we're thinking for a minute just about a blues style, a very common thing to do is just to do, okay, play the F in the bass. So we get to the end and we're back at the start. That's very kind of associated with early rock and roll. Essentially what we have to do in some way is to find our way onto the 5 of the 1-4-5, because that is the dominant in any key. That's the chord that wants to drag us back to the tonic. Okay, so if you're in the key of B flat and you land on an F, then that's kind of the kind of gravity of the music is pulling you back down towards the B flat, especially if it's an F7. Okay, so when we finish a chord sequence like that's one way of doing it, landing on the F. Sorry, I realise I'm probably going out of shot down there. But we can do other things like just play a straightforward F chord. Well, that's an F9, sorry. Okay. Or to get slightly more sophisticated, still in a kind of bluesy style, you could do something like this. Yeah, so you finish the sequence on the progression on a B flat. Okay, so we're going E flat, E, F. That's a very, very similar technique to what you might do on a guitar, because it's like taking a bar chord and sliding up the fretboard. So if you finish on B flat and you go up to E flat, E, F, da da da, yeah, it almost kind of mimics what the guitar does. And I mean, there are various other ones. I mean, the answer basically is to play about, but whatever you do, finish on the F. Finish on the B flat, sorry, go to the F, or some variant that gets you to the F. Okay, so that was just E flat, G minor, 7, F7, that would work. And just play around with whatever fits the key. The basic simple answer is go back to the 5 chord to start again. So you play your 1-4-5 sequence, your B flat, E flat, F sequence, and find your way back to the F, the 5 as the turnaround. Yeah. Let's look at it in the key of A, because you talked about Tim talked about an A, D, E sequence, and let's do something a little bit more sort of country folky, rocky sort of thing. Imagine we're doing something like this. So we get to the end of our progression, and then we could just go to the 5 chord again, which is E, to starters. But in songs like that you might find an E is a bit too obvious, going to the 5 is a bit too obvious. So you could do something like this, go to the 4 chord, and put an E in the bass. Yeah, that's a very common thing to do if you've got a... if you want to create a sound that's like a dominant, but you don't want to go to the dominant itself, use the 4 chord with the first note with the 5 chord in the bass. Yeah, it sounds a bit complicated. Let me demonstrate it again. So we've got our just improvising a 1-4-5 sequence in A. And that's our turnaround. A simple chord beat finished on the A, and again play around with the rhythms, do whatever you want. So the basic message is whatever key you're playing in, if you've got that one kind of 1-5-4-4-5 sequence, or really it works for any kind of progression, to do the turnaround, if you need a turnaround, head back to the 5 chord, or a chord that's like the 5, yeah, so a 4 chord with a 5 in the bass, and it will take you naturally back to the start. A lot of songs don't need turnarounds, you know, you can just carry on from finishing on the tonic chord and then starting again, especially if you've got a song with a kind of verse-chorus structure. Then often the chorus will finish and it'll just meander on, carrying on the tonic. Okay, I hope that's useful. A bit like the last video I did this afternoon. I feel like I'm rambling a bit, but if it doesn't make sense, just ask me more questions or ask me to clarify bits of it, and hopefully that will clear things up a little bit for you, Tim, and for anyone else who's kind of interested. I should mention my book. Did I mention my book? Yeah, a bit of a sales blitz. How to really play the piano. If you're not sure about things like 1-4-5 and chords and things like that, have a look at my book. I'll include a link to it. Tim's already bought a copy. Well done, Tim. Thank you very much for that. But it explains all the sort of basic harmonic concepts you will need to do this kind of stuff. Okay, there we go.